Hey guys, I think we can all agree that Judas' Birthright with its unique Book of Belial Synergies is one of the more interesting Birthright effects in the game. But we can also not deny the fact that there are lots of active items that don't have a unique synergy with it. That's why James B546 created yet another one of his awesome synergy mods. This video will be a showcase of all new effects added in Book of Belial Synergies. Let's start with some explosive items. The Anarchist Cookbook gets a unique synergy with Judas' Birthright that applies the hot bombs effect to all of the spawned bombs. The bombs have the usual hot bombs abilities of dealing 16 contact damage as well as leaving a flame on explosion. On top of that, the explosion itself deals 20 extra damage. The Mr. Boom item got a similar synergy. The spawned bomb also gets the abilities of the hot bombs item, while the explosion damage is also doubled from 185 to 370. These two synergies will most likely not help you that much against regular foes that die from normal bombs anyway, but it will certainly come in handy in boss fights. Next up is the Box of Spiders, which will spawn special Belial spiders when paired with Judas' Birthright. The spiders will deal 3 times your tier damage and burn enemies on contact. The burn itself also hits for 3 times your damage for a total of 3 ticks. This adds up to 12 times your damage per spider, which is ridiculously strong. Maybe a bit too strong if you ask me. The next one is a really interesting concept. The Jar of Flies synergy will cause the item to spawn special Belial flies, which increase your damage while they are on the screen. The flies themselves act like regular blue flies and deal the usual 2 times your damage on contact, but every single one of them buffs your damage by plus 0.47 with no limit. However, the buff you receive from the flies does not increase the damage of the flies themselves. This would probably snowball out of control really fast otherwise. But the synergy itself still feels powerful. It buffs your tier damage significantly and encourages a unique playstyle where you want to use the flies as little as possible. The next new synergy in the mod is more on the defensive side. Judas' Birthright will grant the D20 a 25% chance to turn pickups that reroll into hearts into black hearts instead. The triggered effect is clearly visible as it is marked by a red cloud effect whenever it happens. This synergy is a great way to get additional value out of the already powerful dice. The next new synergy is a really simple one. Each time you use the deck of cards with Judas' Birthright, it will spawn a free devil card on top of the usual random one. The effect of the devil card is basically the same as that of the Book of Belial, which makes this a really fitting synergy. The next 2 synergies in the mod are quite disturbing and make you wonder if Judas is okay. Lemon Mishap will spawn special red creep instead of the usual yellow. The creep ticks for 4 times your tier damage, which will result in just over 500 damage on base Judas if all of the ticks hit the same target. The synergy with free lemonade does exactly the same, just with a way bigger and longer lasting creep puddle, which can hit the same target for over 1000 damage. The Necronomicon also got its own synergy with Judas' Birthright. Using the book will not only deal the usual 40 damage to all enemies in the room, but also burn them. This is not really meaningful against most regular enemies that have less than 40 HP anyway, but it will make sure to finish off many stronger enemies as well. The next new synergy in the mod grants some love to the teleport item, which usually only has some very niche use cases with its random teleport effect. When combined with Judas' Birthright, the teleport will have a chance to teleport you to the floor's devil or angel room, which makes it worthwhile to use it on cooldown. The shinier big brother of the teleport item, Teleport 2.0, also got some love in this mod. Every time you use it with Judas' Birthright, you will get a temporary plus 2 damage buff. The buff only lasts for 1 room, but is applied after the teleport, which means you can directly use it to fight possible enemies in the new unknown location. 11 synergies done, but the mod still has a lot of them to offer. But before we continue, please consider subscribing to my channel if you like these showcases and want to support me. Thank you. The portable slot also got a really interesting synergy. Every time you get a payout from using it, Judas will get a temporary flat plus 0.5 damage buff on top of the reward. This damage buff will of course go away when leaving the room, but it can be stacked. This means you can play the slot machine multiple times to get a boost in difficult rooms. The Book of Sins has a similar synergy. It will also grant Judas a temporary damage boost that stacks when somehow used multiple times in the same room. However, the damage boost actually scales based on the pickup that was spawned by the book. The higher the quality of the pickup, the higher the damage buff will be. Next up is the Box of Friends. First of all, the synergy will cause the box to spawn a Brimstone baby instead of a Demon baby when you use it without any other familiars. But that's not all. The synergy will also grant a flat +1 temporary damage for each familiar you had when using it. This buff stacks with itself when used multiple times in the same room. But we are not done with temporary damage boosts yet. The D12 also got its own synergy with Judas' Birthright that grants a damage buff for each rerolled obstacle. You get plus 0.15 flat damage per rerolled object, which makes the power of the synergy vary depending on the room. Look out for big rooms with many rocks, like for example the boss rush. The D1 plus Judas Birthright synergy has a similar effect to the D20 synergy I showed you earlier. Every time a heart is duplicated, there's a chance for it to be a black one instead. The chance for this effect to trigger is 33% and is once again displayed by a red cloud effect. Make sure to use the D1 on hearts if you want to stack up on some black health. Next up on the list of new Book of Belial synergies is the Compost item. It works similar to the Jar of Flies synergy I showed you earlier, but with some important tweaks. Whenever you use the item, you will get a temporary boost of plus 0.1 flat damage for each blue fly and or blue spider you have, including the newly spawned ones. The highest buff you can get from one activation is plus 6.4 damage with the familiar cap of 64. However, the buff stacks with itself if used multiple times in the same room. Keep in mind that each use of the Compost will double all of your current spiders and flies. This can snowball really fast and grant you a considerable buff every 2 rooms. Did you know that the mystery gift has a small chance, depending on your luck, to spawn the poop or the lump of coal item instead of an item from the current item pool? Well, this slightly changes in this mod when combined with Judas' Birthright. All instances of the poop item will be replaced by a random devil deal item instead. The next synergy is simple yet powerful. The moving box will grant Judas a permanent damage buff depending on the amount of items and pickups stored inside of it. The damage boost is a flat plus 0.9 for each item and plus 0.2 for each pickup. It will stay between rooms and only get removed when you decide to empty the box again. The Book of Shadows is yet another book active item that got a Judas Birthright synergy in this mod. Using it will grant you the ability to burn enemies on contact. This may sound crazy at first, but keep in mind that the regular burn effect only ticks for your current damage stat at a rather slow rate. You won't melt any rooms with this. The Crystal Ball is also affected by Judas' Birthright in this mod. It will just replace all of its spawned soul hearts with black hearts instead. Simple yet powerful. The new synergy with the Best Friend item will allow your explosive buddy to release 6 fires in a hexagonal pattern around him before he leaves you alone again. The Dead Sea Scrolls usually activate a random item from a giant pool of possible outcomes. However, using it with Judas' Birthright will only activate devil items. It can grab basically anything, even powerful items like Mega Blast. However, James made sure not to include harmful items such as Razorblade or Plan C. The synergy with Monstro's Tooth simply replaces the falling Monstro with its improved version Monstro 2, which shoots a brimstone beam at a nearby enemy. The damage of the impact will always be the usual 120, while the brimstone damage is actually affected by your own damage, making it stronger in the endgame. Judas' Birthright also comes with a unique synergy for the poop item, which grants it a 50% chance to spawn a black poop instead of a regular brown one. This might not seem very useful at first glance, but keep in mind that black poops deal 10 damage to all enemies in the room and also confuse them when being destroyed. However, a way more useful synergy in the mod was made for the Yum Heart. Using it with Judas' Birthright will give him a temporary damage buff depending on his red heart count. The more red hearts you have, the bigger the damage buff will be. A full set of 12 hearts grants base Judas over 20 damage, which makes a red heart strategy a very viable choice. You probably know that the Book of the Dead can spawn friendly bonies to your assistants. The Birthright Synergy grants a chance to spawn red champion bonies instead. Not only do the champion bonies deal slightly more damage, they are also a lot sturdier, which makes it easier to keep them around for more value from the book. The Sharp Straw, which usually has a 15% chance to drop half a red heart whenever you hit an enemy with it, now also has a 5% chance to spawn an extra black heart on top. Don't forget that the Sharp Straw has a time-based recharge. This allows you to farm a good amount of extra black hearts over time if you stay patient. And last but not least, the final new synergy in this awesome mod was made for the Keeper's Box, which usually spawns purchasable shop items or pickups on the ground. Its Judas Birthright Synergy will turn all the created shop items into Curse Room items instead, which once again is clearly indicated by rising red cloud effects. And that's it. This was all the new custom synergies in the Book of Belial Synergies mod. Which one was your favorite? Please let me know down in the comments, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!
He's the number one,
Isaac!
God's favorite son. His flowing robes reach down from heaven.